back in Tiger Town.
Here we are.
Tiger Town, Punting Melbourne style. The Ralph Melbourne Potsy edition after you got up Mickey McGuire and DK last week. Oh, a couple of very good men.
What good fun that was.
Yeah, it's great viewing.
We had an email about that from, I'll remember who it was shortly.
Yeah.
Grant P, I think it was.
Right.
Professional dog punter.
Yes.
And just loves his footy and things like that. And his whole email, like, just what great guests they were, and particularly how we could listen to Mick for hours when he's talking about football. You know, and what a knowledge he is when it comes to AFL. So, thanks, Grant.
Hope he gets back in the system, Mick. He's done an amazing job in suburban footy. Yeah. And I was just thinking yesterday watching, I have it on, VFL, Gary Ayres, Port Melbourne win again. Yeah. Two-time North Smith medalist. He coached Geelong to a grand final, Adelaide to preliminary finals, and he gets Port Melbourne, who were broke at the start of the year, to play for him all the time. Yeah. Maybe he just doesn't do a good PowerPoint presentation. Yeah. Isn't the idea of coaching to get your players to play for you? And that's what Mick's obviously done for years in suburban footy, and yeah, it was fantastic. I've had a big day already, Potts. I've had sort of two things. One, the Eddie Murphy. You know the Eddie Murphy?
No, what's the Eddie Murphy?
Remember Beverly Hills Cop? Yes. He's in jail. He's got the 1980 Walkmans on, and Roxanne! I just had a bloke walk past me just doing exactly that. Now he's got the smaller headphones and and a bloke just round the corner at the high rises. I don't care, each to their own. It doesn't affect me. Whatever you do in your life, like, it doesn't worry me, any person. Just you looked a bit, you know, the sort of pigtail look that blokes have, which you wouldn't say pigtail because generally they. He could have flossed himself. It was the longest pigtail I've ever seen. It was tackling to the back of his. So that's me. How'd you see Moonee Valley?
Last week, Ralph, I had a pretty decent week, except for the first 5 races at Moonee Valley. Yes. First half of the cut at Moonee Valley, where it was, from my point of view, was a complete schmozzle.
Have you worked out why? Because that's what DK gave in the briefing a couple of weeks back. I've worked out why. Yeah,
look, I was a bit. Some of it was a little bit self-inflicted, and then anyway, I was just you know, some split decisions and you go the wrong way.
Yeah. And so you consider zag punting?
Yeah, that sort of stuff. You know.
Can I put this to you? I reckon that's the last of the learning meetings.
Yeah, I think that's right.
4 winners first up, 4 winners second up. The old mates rates with Magnapel, who else was in the finish? Lord Durante and Killarney Kid. What's the combined amount of starts those three have had? And so all the second up horses just couldn't cope. Or had a bad day,
or had some misfortune, like foundation.
Why don't we get to that first? Because it's all part. I don't know if this is part of it. It was part of it with me. I just missed Vesterac, which was torture. Didn't set up a good day, and then a couple other times the Team Hayes horses let me down. What a unique day they had. Their horses were legless, were they? Except for foundation that had Jake Duffy. And set it up that we don't know because they had Jake Duffy.
So when we did this show 2 weeks ago, I said, I hope everyone's watching our Mandan. Good. Yeah. Because there's other horses in that race that I really want to back.
Foundation
the horse was Foundation. It was the horse I was desperate to back. And when the acceptances come out last Wednesday, and I look to the rider and I just go, why? So it's not against. That's not about Jake Duffy. That's exactly. I mean, he's a young man trying to create an opportunity for himself, and he's obviously worked hard. And I bet he earned his opportunity that he got. I could sort of understand them keeping him on sun at that because he'd ridden it at the previous run at the Sandown.
I do know this. This is actually a team rule of David's, so good on him for that.
Yeah.
If you ride the winner, you keep the ride.
Yeah, that's fine. So that made sense to me. I was just perplexed as to why they would put him on Foundation when it was going to be a tricky ride. And unfortunately for the young man, he didn't make the most of his opportunity because he just
either.
No, he didn't have the confidence when he got into a tricky position, you know, at about the 300 where he could have gone outside and he went inside.
Yeah.
But then once he chose to do that, he had no choice but to ride that horse very aggressively and make a run. And he didn't have the confidence to do that. That the top level jockeys do, you know, usually have, you know, depending, you know, sometimes they don't, but usually when you've got a horse travelling that well, it will make a run for itself. Yeah. If you put it between horses, it'll just force them. And he didn't have the confidence to put his head in between 2 horses. So
all I can think of was that Senate Art was the one that they had pegged.
Yeah.
Foundation's a runaway. So let's give Jake a sighter at Moonee Valley first.
Yeah.
Before the ride. Because you always try and think the why.
Yeah.
Then later in the day, here's how Rocky had 3/4 Betfairitis, and Boom Time had Betfairitis, and they both ran accordingly for different reasons. Keeneray went backwards.
I'm perplexed as to why D Dunn would have wanted to hold the lead on Who's That Rocky. That's some very...
What was Craig Williams doing? I know.
Well, no, that made sense to me in a way. Craig Williams, to me in that race, he was drawn outside the favourite. He always wanted to hold the spot, one off the rails, outside the favourite. But I don't think he expected Dwayne Dunn to be so aggressive. I think Craig was dictated to by Dwayne. I know he could have pulled out of it, which he eventually did, really.
Yeah.
But... I'm curious. Like Dwayne Dunn doesn't. That's most unusual for Dwayne Dunn to ride like that.
Yes,
just seemed very odd.
And maybe it was one of those because again, as you say, it's unusual. So when we're talking about the elite, the elite have a game plan.
Yeah.
Maybe it was because on paper there was not much speed, so we ended up getting the complete reversal.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah. So what about? We're going down this part, but we will. What's your mindset like? Because you often will play a bit more out wide than I will. What's your mindset like when you see a jockey who's not quite at the standard of the other jockeys around them when it comes to you trying to frame a price?
Well, if one of the top level jockeys had been booked for Foundation, I would have marked that horse 5-2.
Yep.
And if I'm repricing the race now, I'd still mark it 5-2. I marked it $5.
Yep.
Which was really about the penalty for an inexperienced rider. And I still think that was the right price. I still think all the things that happened in that race, he still should have won the race.
Well, we're in Tigertown here at the All Nations Hotel. I'll give you 2 quotes from Richmond coaches. Tommy Hafey, stop finessing, you're a back pocket plumber. And that's what Jake Duffy had to do. And I think it was when Alan Jones was coaching at Richmond, when his last stint, one of the players wanted to play on Johnny Platten, the Hawthorn Great Rover, and he said, "Laddie, you're a mini miner to take you on a Porsche. Just will decide where he plays on Johnny Platten." And that's he tried to do something a bit cute when really he just needed to just go around him.
Yeah, he went, and the problem is he went into that situation hoping.
Yeah.
Like if you go into that situation on a horse that's travelling that well, you have to be saying, "I'm just going through."
Yes. Yeah.
So you know, and only certain jockeys are cut out for that type of thing. But there are, I'll give a good example of a jockey that would have ridden in that situation perfectly is Jason Collett. He's extremely brave and he forces runs. And he very rarely gets beaten on horses like that because he's not prepared to be, to not make a run. So.
And the track you walked Friday, it seems like on the data of Vince Cardi's that it's getting firmer in that area where we often say, particularly in the winter, it doesn't get that 600 metre mark. It seems like it's racing firmer and near perfect now. Sorry about the surface. So and what's your thoughts about the lanes going wider though? Because at the moment it's been very inner. Not badly, but inner.
Well, from the surface overall, it walked firmer on the, the far side. So where they start the 1600 metre races, around to about the 1200.
Yep.
Then, so just let's say that's a 3.
Yeah.
Then from the 1200 around to about the 800, like a 3.5.
Yeah.
And then from the 800 to the 350, thereabouts, just in front of the Tabaret.
Yeah.
Probably getting close to a 4. That's how it felt when you're walking it.
And probably it's been a 5 or a 6 recently.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah, that is. And so walking the track, I spent ages out there on Friday route because I just didn't. I didn't want to walk onto it. Didn't think it's going to be the same as it was at the previous meeting. I wanted to let what I saw tell me. And I ran into one of the guys that we had a conversation halfway around. I thought I just had to put that conversation out of my head and start again, just sort of walk the whole thing. And to be honest, as I was walking it, I was just trying to talk myself into this a bit. That it felt to me like you could be on any of the inside 5 lanes, and it really didn't make a huge difference.
Yep.
I had a slight preference to being closer to the inside.
Lots less ground.
Yeah, you're sort of covering less, but didn't feel like it was going to be a big advantage in there, and it felt like it might start off that way and then sort of turn around. That's sort of what it felt like. In the end, you sort of got to make a call. So I thought, well, I'm going to start off trying to back on paces at this meeting and then work it out from there. And then, of course, Samavare goes back to last and wins in lane 5 in race 1, which sort of didn't surprise me because lane 5 was fine. You just didn't want to be a bit wider than that, you know?
She is a lot better than him.
She was too good for him,
yeah.
Which is just that whole... I'd love someone to explain. I'd love the trainers, particularly the Hayes stable and the Wallace stable, to explain to me what happened at that race at Flemington, where Swampland was the only horse that ran to a form. Every other horse in that race rated down terribly, including Samavare.
Yeah.
And O'Rachel was disgraceful. And they've all come out of it at their next runs and run to their ratings. So that race at Flemington stinks to high heaven to me.
The Samavare thing makes more sense to me what about if we put it this way? He gets it, it's got this level from Perth.
Yeah.
He gets it in May. There's the goal here. So it's just 3 to-go runs. And that one was particularly short of fitness. Fitter. Next up we see it get near to its Perth level and it'll smash any of them that he races.
Yeah.
She races again and she won't race again.
I'd buy that if all those runs were happening with any kind of flow to them. But like the first run was, well, I don't know, was it back in June or something?
May.
May.
Yeah.
Then 8 weeks off or whatever.
No, that's what I mean. It was just ticking over.
Then we turn up at Flemington.
Yeah.
And it was a substandard run. Let's face it, it was a really poor effort.
Well,
and then she has to have another month between runs. That's what threw me. Yes. A month between runs again, no trial. I was desperate to go and see her. A month between runs with a trial would have been perfect.
Yes.
But there's no trial that we could see.
Yeah.
But I'm sure one happened.
You're right. Yeah.
And then they go up in distance. So when I sort of did the raw ratings for that race, it was easy to mark her 2 to 1, right? But then, as I looked at it all, it just felt wrong to me. I found a way to mark her $4.
Yeah.
You know, that's where she got to in the end. I probably should have saved on it. No, it was one of those calls where she was clearly the horse to beat in the race, but she just had no platform, no preparation, and then she runs, up to her.
I think I marked the 2:35 and stayed out.
Yeah, there you go.
And that's part of the pep talk we got from Dan about the just trying not to go too early in the prep.
Yeah.
And that, as you said, had no continuity. What happened in the second race? Oh, there you go. There's another question for you. We've got about 2 minutes. So I was on Estera. Thought you didn't show much speed, and then the pace come out, and they ran on that better ground. What do you do with bog heavy to dry? Because I don't know.
This is what happened to me from Wednesday onwards, or Tuesday onwards actually. I was getting tipped Masculino from all sorts of places. Yeah. So I was really trying to find it.
Yeah.
I looked at that Cranbourne run. I mean, the Cranbourne run really told you nothing about it because it beat nothing. It beat them pointlessly, and it did it on heavy ground, leading on a track where you had to be in front. So
14 seconds over in the last.
And the other bit that I couldn't overcome was its debut win was excellent. I think from memory it was at Seymour.
Yep.
I backed it at Flemington off the Seymour win.
Yes.
And to me, it was disappointing. It ran below the figure I expected.
Yeah.
So I had to put it in over above the figure I expected it to return at Flemington.
Yeah.
But again, talking to DK, he said to me, Potts, that was an end of prep run, and he's right.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So again, it's one of these decision ones where I've sort of talked myself out of finding the horse.
And how often would a first up 1400 on a bog heavy track result on a flatter run second up? And it didn't. Yeah. So all honours, but that was the difference. I think also they sort of dropped anchor, and that meant that the whole field copped it, which probably advantaged the leader. You want to take a break? We'll do the rest of it.
Yep.